Asterisk I moved to the old abandoned farm of my family, and the animals don't act like they should. Part 1. I never thought I would write something here. But honestly, something weird, or at the very least, off was happening to me. I don't know if it's just me or if this place, this farm, has something to do with it. But I feel like if I don't let it out, I'm going to lose my mind for real. Maybe it's just loneliness. Being alone in the middle of nowhere can mess with your head. But okay, let me start from the beginning. I inherited my great-great-grandmother's farm last month. That's where I'm living now. It was one of those unexpected inheritances. The kind that shows up in a beige envelope with official letterhead and old paper smell. The message was straightforward. Your name is eligible as the next caretaker of the family property, following the wishes of Ms. Hilda, as stated in the will archived at the City Hall. We request your presence for the official transfer of ownership. Basically, no one else wanted it, so it ended up with me. When I was reading through the will, which came with the summons, I noticed that only women were allowed to inherit the farm. I thought that was kind, progressive of her, but that's just a guess. No one in my family ever really wanted to talk about her. Everything I know came from a few drunken slips at family celebrations or whispers when flipping through old photo albums with my grandma. What I do know is that Ms. Hilda was a nature lover. She built a perfectly balanced lifestyle where the animals on the farm lived in complete harmony with her. No grooming, no fences, no sacks of feed. Each animal seemed to know its role, and somehow, they all worked together to keep this artificial ecosystem thriving with life. She never had kids, unlike her sister, my direct ancestor, who married a businessman from a nearby town. So when Hilda died, the place was just left behind. No one wanted to give up the comforts of modern life. And just as that, the farm was frozen in time. I mean, big city, luxury, entertainment, convenience. None of the newer generations were willing to trade that to live like she did. Being serious, I only ended up here because my financial life was circling the drain. I was in debt even to the pharmacy down the street. So when I got the inheritance papers, I saw it as my last chance to start over, and maybe to find myself again, to reconnect, find meaning. But trying to do that out here hasn't been easy. As much as I feel connected and even happy sometimes, there are these waves, cold ones, that make every hair on my body stand on end. And I just want to pack everything up and go back to my dad's home. But at first, everything seemed fine. I arrived yesterday, alone, after more than 4 hours of driving, twisting through dirt roads, red clay hills, and eucalyptus groves that bent with the wind like they were whispering to each other. When I finally pulled up to the gate, I was hit by a wall of heavy heat. Crossing through those rust-covered iron gates felt like stepping into a temporal bubble. Framed in moss, the vegetation here is radiant, lush, and dense. The garden looks freshly tended. The trees are heavy with fruit, almost begging to be picked. The air smells of earth and wild greenery. But there's something else in it too, something fermented. Like life itself drifts through the breeze and fertilizes everything it touches. The closest I can describe the scent is musk, a fragrance of sweat, skin, and blooming things. It feels like I'm constantly wrapped in it, embraced by something I can't quite see. But what really threw me off, what really made me shiver in a weird and silent way, was the animals. Chickens, goats, pigs, ducks, even some dogs, all moving together like a peaceful little society. No piles of droppings, no broken plants, no mess. Just calm coordination. It was like the entire environment had formed its own routine to survive. Beautifully. I mean, I'm a city girl, raised in an apartment. But even I know things aren't supposed to be this tidy. I still want to double check if someone's been living here. Because honestly, if some guy just shows up out of nowhere, I'm going to lose it. There aren't any fences around the property, and I don't trust the doors or windows. They're all wooden and flimsy, in worse shape than my bank account. After spending several minutes completely hypnotized by the whole place, I parked the car and started unloading some of the boxes into the house. Now let me talk a bit about the house. It's huge. I settled into the oldest wing, built from stone and rammed earth. It's way more preserved than the Victorian-style front, which has already been half devoured by time and termites. That rustic part of the house drew me in right away. It holds a locked room I haven't found the key to yet, the staircase to the second floor, and what used to be my great-great-grandmother's bedroom. Stepping inside felt like walking into a historical drama set. Everything's still in place. The wardrobe, the carved mirror frame, the old books leaning on the shelves. It was like she could walk through the door at any moment. lay down on the embroidered sheets, and pick up where she left off. That thought gives me chills if I think about it too much. There was no way I was going to sleep in that bed, so I headed back to the car and grabbed my trusty inflatable mattress. I had been dragging that thing around since my days in the Scouts. Still, haven't worked up the nerve to lie on the actual bed. The pillows are still fluffed like they're waiting for someone. So, no way. I woke up this morning wanting to be productive. I was gently awakened by the golden light of the sun slipping through the slats of the old shutter. That kind of light that carries a fine, magical dust, dancing in the air like the day itself is whispering secrets. I got up, still in my oversized sleep shirt, and went to rummage through one of the boxes that I left in the kitchen to make myself some breakfast. The kitchen is enormous, one of the biggest rooms in the house, easily. In the center stands a massive island, surrounded by charming little navy blue cabinet doors, their paint peeling beautifully with age. Came closer and touched the sink, turned the faucet, expecting nothing but dry clanking, and to my surprise, water came gushing out. At first, it spewed rust, sludge, insects I didn't recognize, and this awful smell, metallic and putrid. But after a few seconds, it cleared. The water turned clean, crystal clear, almost sparkling. I braced for a clog, but when I opened one of the small cabinet doors under the sink, I found a wide black iron pipe, thicker than my wrist. I thought to myself, things really were built to last, huh? I even smiled. I ran my hand under the water. It was fresh, cool, pure, top-tier well water. I muttered. I felt lighter, hopeful even, ready to start the day. I went back to the car to grab the rest of my things, more food, dishcloths, sponges, kitchen supplies, even some old spices that were stuffed in the back of the cupboard in my last apartment, the one I got kicked out of, by the way. And I also brought in the cutlery. I forgot it before, and sadly I'm not Wolverine's daughter to be able to cut something without needing knives. When I got to the side door of the kitchen, the one that opens to the yard, the first weird thing hit me. A pig, a big one, with a white patch on its face. It was massive and looked pretty old. It stared at me for a long while as I awkwardly tried to open the stuck door without dropping the box I was carrying. Eventually, I gave up and set the box down. The moment I did that, the pig casually walked up and, with an unnervingly natural push, shoved the door open. Then it just trotted off like it had somewhere to be. I swear, someone must have been living here. There's no way a pig just understands intent like that. It was kind of cute, a little unsettling. Sure, I keep forgetting how massive pigs can be. I picked up the box again, set it on the counter, and went back for the rest, this time jamming a stone into the door to keep it from shutting. Once everything was finally inside, I wiped down the counters and made myself a quick sandwich, while watching the animals through the big window above the main sink. The sunlight filtered through the window, catching the old embroidered curtain. Even tattered and faded, it was still beautiful, delicate. The lace filtered the light, casting soft patterns of shadows and glow across the tiles. It was one of those calm, poetic little moments that make you feel grateful to be alive. So I stepped closer to the window, letting the sun hit my face. That's when I saw them. The spiders, small, brown ones with long, thin legs and delicate thread-like bodies. At first, from a distance, I thought they were just specks of dust or dirt on the curtain. I seriously need new glasses. But when I got closer, I realized they were moving with precision. They were working together. And the weirdest part, they were weaving a single web. One unified, spiraled, symmetrical pattern. Fluid and deliberate, almost like a choreographed dance among silken threads. And the design matched the curtain. The spiders were copying the embroidery. My brain just froze. Do spiders do that? Do they have visual memory? Can they replicate human-made patterns? How do they even communicate something like that? I thought about grabbing my phone to take a photo, but something made me hesitate. Like photographing it would violate something sacred. I turned back to look outside again, still dazed by what I'd just seen. That's when I realized I was being watched at all that time. A group of geese stood at the edge of the yard, just near the hedges that lined the path to one of the gardens. Their necks were fully stretched, all eyes locked on me, unblinking, perfectly still. Those eyes, I was paralyzed. My chest tightened with that eerie, primal sense that you're being sized up. They weren't honking, flapping, pecking at the ground. Literally nothing. Just stillness, deep, heavy silence, like they were measuring me. After what felt like minutes, I stepped a bit closer to the window. That's when, as if someone had flipped a switch, They all turned and began waddling in single file toward the bushes, their plump behinds bobbing side to side like nothing had happened. It was a strange mix of relief and embarrassment, getting spooked by birds with fluffy butts who eat lettuce and worms. Still, something instinctive lingered. I closed the curtains carefully, trying not to disturb the little lace weavers still tirelessly at work. I finished my sandwich and tried to move on with the day. Took my things to the bedroom, cleaned out the dresser, sorted the pantry, opened some of the windows I could manage, let the air circulate. I scrubbed the living room floor, wiped the kitchen and bedroom moldings, and tried to get rid of the black mildew growing in the corners. But no luck. I'll try using bleach tomorrow. I also opened the wooden blinds in my great-great-grandmother's room. The place feels not haunted, exactly, but dense. The air smells like cedar and some kind of faint floral sweetness. Her clothes are still in the wardrobe. Her handkerchiefs are still folded. The old perfume bottles still have liquid inside. I didn't touch much, just enough to dust around. Last night I had to shove the old bed to the side to fit my inflatable mattress. Only in daylight did I notice the wood beneath it is darker, more porous. It scratches easily. Probably explains the smell. After that, I made some food, watched a couple of movies, and worked on a freelance project I need to submit next week. When night came, I used my little portable stove to heat some water for a bath. That part felt strange too, but I figured it was just the surreal vibe of showering in a place that feels like a movie set. For some reason, there's no mirror in the bathroom. Afterwards, I made a bit of pasta and got ready for bed. That's when something truly bizarre happened, and why I decided to write all of this here. I was already in bed, about to sleep, flipping through some old notes I found in one of the bedside tables. Just lists of herbs and homemade remedies, ordinary stuff. The window was cracked open, letting in the smell of damp earth from the garden, and a chilly breeze that made the curtain sway. I got up to close the curtains, and that's when I felt it. A chill on the back of my neck, a silence so dense it didn't feel like the absence of sound, but the presence of something that didn't want to be heard. I leaned closer to the window, trying to spot movement. And then I saw him, the old pig. Frozen, his huge shadow split by a stripe of moonlight, standing right at the edge of the trees, where the dark begins. He wasn't making a sound, wasn't moving, just staring directly into my eyes, and it wasn't the vacant, curious stare of a farm animal. It was locked in, intentional, too aware, like he was analyzing me, judging me. That same look a teacher gives when they know you're about to lie. That look that crawls under your skin. My breath caught in my throat. My knees felt weak. My mind flashed back to the geese. I shut the curtains, fast, took a few steps back, then stood in the middle of the room, frozen, waiting to hear something. Hoof steps, a grunt, anything, but I heard nothing. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just the isolation. Maybe I'm cracking. But still, has anyone ever seen anything like this? Maybe I'm overreacting. I've never lived with animals. I was raised downtown, surrounded by streetlights and concrete. I know pigs can be smarter than dogs, but that look was something else. The glint in those dark eyeballs, glowing faintly in the moonlight. It's still gnawing at me while I write this. Sometimes I think that if I open the window again, it'll be there, right in front of my face. I can almost feel his breath, smell it, like he's still here. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Sometimes when my eyes glimpse the curtains, I see his shadow on them, closer than ever to the window. Maybe these animals are just curious. Maybe they've never seen a human before. But some part of me can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone out here, and that this farm remembers things I don't understand yet. Tomorrow I'm going to keep searching for the keys. Maybe they'll open more than just doors. Tonight feels darker than the one before, and the silence, it carries a different weight now. The air feels even denser, like I could reach out and touch it as I write this. Everything seems damper, and me, I'm just breathing, like someone trying to convince their own body not to collapse. I don't know if I'm writing this to stay sane, to ask for help, or just to drown out the sound of whatever might come from the window. Sleep feels like either an act of courage or surrender. Last night I didn't really sleep. It was more like a long, dragging passage through dreams soaked in dread and images that refused to dissolve. Even when the day arrived, I dreamed I was sinking into mud, the kind of mud that has no end, that pulls you down inch by inch while the air in your lungs gets heavier, denser, harder to grasp. I was in a pigsty, trapped in a dark barn. There was no sound, no snorting, no footsteps, just them, staring at me, motionless, still. Dozens of pigs surrounding me with eyes dark as engine oil, as hollow as the darkness swallowing that place. They didn't grunt, didn't move, didn't blink. They simply bore witness to my descent. And the worst part was that there was something in their gaze that reflected my own despair, as if I were just another one, another number in a long line of repetitions inside their memories. They remembered something, and they seemed to blame me for it. I woke with my chest aching, the sheets clinging to my body soaked in cold sweat. The room felt darker than I remembered. I sat on the edge of the inflatable mattress, the floor cold under my bare feet, staring into nothing until the trembling in my hands began to ease. I felt ridiculous, vulnerable, and strangely sad, the kind of sadness you feel when you miss yourself, when you remember all the times you ran away, from conversations, from commitments, from people, from dreams, from your own reflection. I've always been good at running, and now I'm trapped, literally surrounded, by overgrown vegetation, by memories, by eyes that always seem to be watching. I thought about my father. He knows where I am, but couldn't even be bothered to respond to my last message. I thought about Vanessa, my most loyal friend, the only one who helped me pack when I was evicted. Just her. Only she truly listens. But I can't bring myself to send her what I'm writing here. Not yet. Maybe because part of me still thinks I'm exaggerating, that I'm overreacting. Or maybe because if I say it out loud, if I share it, it becomes real. The comments I got here made me think. One of them suggested that maybe the animals were judging me for not following the rules my great-great-grandmother used to live by. And that hit me hard. What if it's true? What if this place runs on its own code, and I, just a stranger, am breaking everything just by breathing out of sync? So I decided to try something different. Instead of keeping my distance and simply observing, I decided to follow what someone suggested. Be kind, interact, feed the animals, show up, try, in some small way, to become part of the rhythm and harmony my ancestors seemed to have nurtured here. The morning sun was diffuse, unlike the day I arrived. The sky was veiled in soft clouds, and the air was milder. I left the house with a basket I found in the pantry and a firm goal in my chest. I was going to connect. The garden was vast, bursting with different vegetables and greens, some vibrant and fresh, others painted in dense, dark tones. I recognized pumpkins, zucchinis, tomatoes, kale, but many others I wouldn't even know how to name. Some had fine hairs on their stalks, others were coated with a thin, slick film on their leaves. Each plant had its own texture, its own rhythm, forming a landscape of edible wilderness. While exploring, something on the beaten earth caught my attention. Two large, shaggy-haired dogs were carefully unearthing beets and carrots, digging with surgical precision, as if they knew exactly where to go. They didn't sniff around, they just knew. I approached slowly, and they didn't growl, just kept their distance. I offered the nicest carrot I picked. One took it gently, and both bolted off. As I followed them with my eyes, I saw something stranger on the far edge of the garden. A small group of mice, tiny, agile, and remarkably organized, hidden among the leaves, were carrying mushrooms and a kind of dark, round tuber, almost furry, like tiny black pom-poms. They were dragging them in single file toward a tree in the distance, about a kilometer from the house. I followed their trail and found myself face to face with a massive tree. But not just any tree. It was dead, colossal and hollow, the trunk split wide open, with a wound large enough for a person to curl up inside. The only tree among dozens that looked extinguished. But even so, it was smothered in life. Dense moss, winding vines, an entire city of mushrooms clinging to its bark. And the thing that seized my eyes the most was the slime, a viscous, wet kind of mold pulsing at the center of the hollow wound. It shimmered green-blue, with a gelatinous sheen. Fine strands reached out from it, vine-like, wrapping slowly around, the inner bark like hungry, ghostly fingers. I took a photo, looked it up on my phone and found something called Physarum polycephalum, a primitive organism that behaves almost like it has a nervous system. Not a plant, not fungus, not an animal, something else entirely, a unity, a body that thinks. But this one wasn't like the photos. It was larger, denser, with that strange, pale blue glow and an almost intelligent pulse to its presence. I drew closer, watched it breathe, watched the dew slide across its flesh like rain on skin. That's when it hit me. A memory struck me like a rusted blade, sharp, sudden, leaving something infected in its wake. I was 13. My father and I were driving upstate in the middle of a violent storm. Rain slashed the windshield, and then, a thud. He hit a deer. The sound was so dry, so final. Blood splattered the glass, thick and dark, only to be washed away slowly by the useless, jerking wipers. I remember the smell of iron, the noise of my dad's breathing as he stepped out, rain soaking his back, dragging the deer's body to the edge of the muddy road. The animal was still twitching, gasping, unwilling to die. Its eyes met mine through the glass, huge, round, terrified. I couldn't help. I didn't know how. I just stared back in the present. I blinked and realized all the mice were watching me, frozen at the mouth of the tree's hollow gut. 15, 20, maybe more. Their eyes gleamed like tiny beads, shining, still. They stared at me like I'd just interrupted something sacred. And then they ran, all at once, back into the tunnel. But something in me, curiosity, fear, or sheer stupidity, made me follow. I tried to grab one. Everything felt so unreal, like I was dreaming with my eyes open. The mouse dropped the tuber it had been carrying and bit my hand. The pain was sharp and dirty. Its little teeth punctured my skin like needles. I screamed. Blood welled instantly. The others vanished into the wet, pulsing dark of the roots. Hand throbbing, I looked into the hollow, and I saw 2 eyes, large, iris, pupil and sclera. It was human, floating in the dark, not moving, cloudy, dull, dead. But they saw me. I know they did. The pale blue slime coated them like an open wound left to rot in moonlight. My entire body locked up. Tears welled uncontrollably. Those eyes, they latched onto mine like fishhooks. I started backing away before I even realized I was moving. I scrambled, tearing my skin on bark and leaf, the cold earth sticking to my knees and elbows as I crawled. Panic spasms threw me backward. I pushed myself upright, trying to get enough control over my legs to run. While crouched, half standing, half collapsing, I saw it, one of the mice, dragging one of those eyes in its mouth like a marble. The nausea hit me like a punch. I fell again, vomit rising fast and sour. My hands broke my fall, but that only brought me closer to the hollow. Instinctively, I pushed forward to stay balanced, and that's when I felt it. Burning, not like alcohol, not like heat. Something living entered my skin through the open wound. It slipped into the cracks of my flesh, embedded itself in the bite, and filled the cut like molten wax. It was hot, sharp, consuming. I yanked my hand back, screaming. The slime clung to me, thick as glue. I didn't think. I scraped my hand furiously. In the dirt, I felt the bark, the mud, the stones, all of it grinding against my open wound, taking blood with them. But I didn't stop. I had to get it off. When the panic faded and I was sure I wasn't going to die on the spot, I stood. My legs felt like hollow branches. My vision swam. But I ran. I ran until I was back at the house, turning the kitchen faucet, letting the water rinse the blood and slime down the drain. Cold water. Too much soap. The pain in my hand matched the beating of my heart. Then the smell. That same sickly sweet, bile-like scent I'd noticed the first day. It was coming from the drain. I refused to think about it. I sat on the kitchen floor, pressing a cloth against the wound. The tiles were cold, and the water was still running, diluting the blood into pale pink spirals. My body trembled. I didn't know if it was from pain or from terror, maybe both. I didn't want to look outside again. I couldn't bear the idea of being seen. That sensation of eyes on me had returned, heavier than ever. I went to the bedroom. The smell of the slime lingered on the back of my tongue. I could still taste it, like mold and metal. I found the first aid kit, bandaged the bite, and checked my phone. It was almost 6 p.m. I left for the garden around 10 a.m. What I thought would be a quick errand had become an 8-hour descent into madness. I hadn't eaten all day. The lunch I'd planned to cook, it had been left back there, with that thing. Before I could decide what to do, I heard something outside. Something being dragged. I crept toward the front window, peering through the dirty glass. The basket. It was there, left on the porch table. Everything intact. And more. On top of the vegetables, nestled between the greens, were 7 black tubers, just like the ones the mice had been carrying. I froze. Then, driven by something I couldn't name, I opened the door, grabbed the basket, and shut it behind me fast. Didn't look around, didn't breathe inside. I washed every vegetable obsessively. Nothing had bite marks. Everything looked fresh, like something, had harvested it and left it for me. I didn't know if it was a gift or a warning. I picked up one of the dark tubers. It felt solid, earthy. I sliced it open with a small knife. Inside was soft, spongy, aromatic, familiar. It was a truffle, a real, Black truffle. Excitement surged through me. My heart started racing. Money, a second chance, a secret I could control. Maybe this was how my great-great-grandmother survived, a trained ecosystem, a farm that sustained itself and rewarded those who respected it. I grabbed a larger knife. I was going to cut the rest. I wanted to weigh them, list them, start planning who to sell to, which restaurants would pay. And then I looked up. He was there, the white-patched pig, standing on its hind legs, paws braced against the kitchen external walls, so close I could see the condensation from his breath fogging the glass. He was staring at the truffles, or maybe at me. Saliva dripped from his mouth, thick and blue, mixed with blood. In his teeth, truffle flesh and scraps of something pink and soft. He knew. Pigs are truffle hunters, and he was starving. I gripped the knife tightly. Every part of my body told me to run, to scream, to fight, but some ancient instinct overruled it all. I let go of the blade, opened the window, just a crack, grabbed the last whole truffle, tossed it. He didn't move, didn't blink. He knew there was more. Hand shaking. I gathered the sliced pieces, the crumbs, every last bit, threw them out. Then I heard it, a noise I will never forget. Not chewing, not grunting, something deeper, a gurgling growl, like bile from the throat of something long dead. It shook my spine. He dropped to all fours and devoured everything, gnashing, gulping, slobbering, tearing, and then, silenced. I closed the window, locked it, ran to my room. I barricaded the door with a chair, shut the wooden shutters, sat on the mattress. Shivering. Waiting. And now, here I am, in the dark. The battery on my phone is dying. My backup charger is in the living room, and I'm too scared to fetch it. I've taken 3 sleeping pills, but sleep won't come because my body knows what my mind can't yet accept. I don't know if what I saw today was real. I don't know if I'll laugh about it tomorrow. But right now, this very moment, that thing out there saw me. It knows who I am and it doesn't want me here. I need answers. I will get them. Tomorrow I'm finding the keys and I'm going to open every door of this house.